Hello 607, welcome to Off the Record with your weekly highlights of Delaware County news from The Reporter, the county's finest news source. I'm Andrew Cantor with the latest of what's happened and happening in the county this week. This edition of Off the Record is brought to you by Decker Advertising. If you've got a school or a business or a team you want to promote, a Facebook post is not going to do it. You want to get the word out with banners and t-shirts and lawn signs and car magnets and more of that stuff. And the more often people see your message, the better they'll remember it. So give a call to Decker Advertising. You'll be surprised how little it can cost to create a custom signs, clothing, and all sorts of other products. Get a free estimate and maybe some great ideas too. Call them at 607-746-2178 or visit dckr.com. And now here's this week's news in Delaware County. Drew Garnier of Masonville was charged with killing his pregnant wife and stabbing his two children, both of whom survived the attack. Garnier is being held without bail, facing 1 count of second-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree attempted murder. According to court documents, after stabbing his wife, Garnier said he wanted to kill his children and then himself so the family could be together. Hancock resident Robert Trago is being held on $100,000 bail, facing charges of attempted murder and felony weapons possession after allegedly attempting to kill his neighbor with a .22 caliber rifle. That neighbor, Justin Hadley, was airlifted to Albany for treatment of a gunshot wound to his arm. He's since been released. According to Trago's neighbors, Trago has had, quote, ongoing issues, unquote, with people on the street, including, they claimed, breaking into buildings, setting fire to a neighbor's woodshed, and even shooting at Hadley once before. If convicted, Trago faces 25 years in prison. All right, let's get away from the really depressing news. So a guy named Michael Abate wants to turn a former cat shelter on Stewart Road in Franklin into a dog and cat boarding facility. Now, neighbors, they were fine when there was just cats there, but they're a little iffy when it comes to dogs because, dogs bark. Abate is planning to have 25 to 35 dogs at most in the facility, and they'll only be allowed outside in small groups. When they come inside, they'll be in soundproof kennels, and they will be brought inside by 7 p.m. Now, one resident, worried about the dog noise, asked if he could set off an air cannon every time a dog barked, because, Franklin doesn't have a noise ordinance. County Planner Kent Manuel said, yeah, he could set off an air cannon, but that won't make his neighbors happy, and it's not really clear how making more noise would make the situation better, if there is a situation. Some residents were also concerned about having a commercial business in the residential area, although, to be honest, a dog and cat kennel probably doesn't have a lot of traffic going to and fro. Anyway, the planning board members, they approved Abate's application with a few conditions, like requiring all outdoor activity to stop by 7 p.m. and making sure someone's available to take calls from the code enforcement officer 24/7. Delaware County is still dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Debbie, with washed-out roads and a bunch of flooded homes. The state and county's states of emergency made it easier to fix the critical infrastructure, but it really doesn't help with long-term recovery. Colchester and Andes in particular are facing millions of dollars in damage to roads and culverts and waterways, and although Governor Kathy Hochul has requested a federal disaster declaration and the federal aid that comes with it, it's not clear if that's going to come. And if it doesn't, the municipalities are going to have to absorb the costs. Colchester has some emergency funds set aside, but really not enough to cover all the damage. So if federal or state aid doesn't come through, local taxpayers are going to have to foot the bill. And even if aid does come, that's not going to help the homeowners because their damage isn't really enough to qualify for federal aid. So hopefully those people have flood insurance. The Franklin Planning Board approved a special use permit that will allow Jonah Shaw to turn the former Kellogg Elementary School building into a combination meat and fish processing business and a cannabis processing facility. This isn't news, we've covered this before. They held off, though, allowing Shaw to add an event center with some lodging accommodations. The issue is water. Shaw wants to convert 16 classrooms from the elementary school into guest rooms that they're kind of like guest dorms that'll accommodate 4 to 8 people. But in order to do that, he needs a hotel-motel special use permit. Now, these rooms are only going to be used for groups who are renting the event center, not day-to-day hotel-motel kind of stuff, but it still wasn't clear how much water the facility might use, and engineers are concerned about whether the Treadwell Water District has enough capacity to accommodate the event center's demand. So everyone agreed to move ahead with the meat and the fish and the cannabis processing, but they're going to hold off on the event center permit until Shaw can come up with an estimate for water usage. The village of Sidney took delivery of its brand spanking new fire truck this week. The $450,000 custom-designed beast is going to replace both the department's existing engine and its existing tanker. It's got all sorts of upgraded features like a pump that can deliver 1,500 gallons a minute, which can fill a pool in about 4 seconds if it's a very small pool. It also carries more than 2,000 gallons of water in case there isn't a hydrant nearby, and it's got lights that can light up an entire football field, according to Fire Chief John Gilmore. Firefighters are going to spend the next couple of weeks getting trained on using the new truck, which doesn't yet have a name, but Gilmore says it'll get a name once they start using it. One person who will not be driving the new truck is Sidney Mayor Ray Baker, who Gilmore says, quote, dents everything he drives. Hey, did you know that podcast listeners like you can try the online version of The Reporter free for a month? Now you do. A month-long digital subscription is $5, okay? But we've got a $5 promo code. So basically you get the month for free, and then you can decide if you want to keep, getting your local news or, remaining ignorant and confused. All you have to do is subscribe at the Reporter website. It's the-reporter.net. Then you use promo code SAVE5. That's all caps, SAVE, and the number 5. And that basically gives you an online subscription free for a month. Give it a shot. Of course, there's more Delaware County news in this week's edition of The Reporter. You can read about the history of the absolutely gorgeous Christ Church in Walton and learn things like why does its altar face west instead of east, and how the 190-year-old building is getting a bit of a facelift. Meanwhile, the not-for-profit O'Connor Hospital in Delhi has raised $275,000 towards buying a new CT scanner. Unfortunately, the scanner costs $750,000, so there's a ways to go, but they're hoping to hit the goal before the first snowfall of the year. And the Delaware County Department of Social Services is working on its 2025 budget, trying to keep costs down while still providing important services to residents. And there's, more than that. Remember, to get all the news that matters to you and your Delaware County community, subscribe to The Reporter at the-reporter.net or call 607-464-4009. We'll see you next week.